Welcome back to Made for More. I am your host, Holly J. Moore. I am a divorce lawyer on a mission to help you use the adversity in your life to grow and show up as the best version of yourself. I am joined today by my producer, Aaron Bender.
We've got professional organizer Rachel Rosenthal on the show today, and it got me thinking because just recently got married, and Abby moved into the house, and she loves a basket in the pantry.
Ooh, so do I.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, girl. Yes, Abby.
Yes, and it's been fun. It's been fun. I like to think I'm organized, although if you see my closet right now, you'd have no idea. There's a lot of decluttering happening.
Okay.
But oh my gosh, I've never seen so many baskets and other kind of, bins and things in my life.
Well, okay, so are you guys completely on the same page with it, or
I'm cool with it.
Okay, you are.
Yeah,
There's
for the most part.
Disagreement over it.
Well, this week it was the spice drawer.
Okay.
I like my spices in alphabetical order.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
She rearranged them in the order that she feels they are used. Like most often used is closer to the stove.
Yes.
And then, you get further out and you get into the celery seed, or whatever's over there.
Yes. Well, because I'll tell you, my spice drawer, well, it's a cabinet. My spice cabinet almost caused a divorce in my household.
What?
Yeah. Well, because I mean...
Is it because you can't reach the spice cabinet?
No.
And Jeff puts all the spices where he can reach it?
No. Okay, so when I think of myself, I'm like, I'm not a very organized person, but it's really because I feel like my life is crazy, my schedule is crazy. But when it comes to my home, I very much like things like very organized and also beautiful. So in my spice cabinet, I was like, this is ugly. I am going to decant all of them into these beautifully perfect glass jars with these custom labels on them, right?
Yes.
And the glass jar, it's like a glass jar with a beautiful wooden top that pops off.
That sounds great.
It's beautiful. But there's no, when you buy the spice from the store, you can like shake it or you can like, do it from the spout. Like the glass jars don't have that.
Oh.
So.
Oh, yeah. That would be a problem, I think, for me.
Yes. Well, now you see where this is going because so Jeff does most of the cooking in the house. So he comes home and I'm so proud of this beautiful spice cabinet, which is all these perfect glass jars with no shaker, no spoon to get them out, no way to actually properly apply the spices to the cooking. And he's like, you've ruined my life. You have literally freaking ruined my life with these damn jars. Like, what are you even doing? You don't even cook. Like, how could you have done this to my spices? So I love to be organized. I love to have things beautiful, but it has caused marital issues.
What happened did you have to recant?
Well, no, of course not. He is a perfect husband. Okay, so he's like,
adjusted.
I will deal. I will adjust. Like, I'll handle it.
He got a sift, whatever he needed.
Yeah, I think he's just kind of like perfected his shaking technique.
Okay.
But yeah, he's like, this is so not functional. This sucks. This is stupid. But, he's like, honey, you love this. It's beautiful to you. We'll go with it.
He keeps it spicy.
Yes, he does. We are joined today by Rachel Rosenthal, a professional organizer. Rachel, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, absolutely. So I know you not only just like organize drawers, but you organize businesses, life, like you organize all sorts of things, right?
I do. I think organization is a way of life is what I say. So I think it permeates into every single aspect of your life. So whether that's house, business or travel, wherever it is, I feel like it is a way of life that we should all be living.
And what in your life like brought you to that point? Did you come out of the womb just being uber organized, or tell me like how did you get to this place?
Great question. I think I came out of the womb organized. I started my career actually as a lawyer, so very type A.
Yes.
And then I just
Yes.
felt like the law wasn't as fulfilling as I wanted it to be, and I felt like I had other talents. We were keeping track as a lawyer by your time and your clients, and I
Yes.
felt like I can translate keeping track of time to a physical space. And how does that make us more productive? So from there, it just kind of exploded. I left my legal career and have been doing this for 15 years now.
Okay. Well, I wish I could say, as a fellow lawyer, I too am extremely organized, but I am definitely not. I am more of a fly by the seat of my pants type of gal. Thankfully, I have people that organize me for me, but
Right.
yeah, it's a bit of a struggle. The thing that I find most challenging about organization is not getting organized, it's staying organized, right? Do you think that's the thing?
I feel like people think about it as, oh, it's a one-time event. I'm organized. Okay, it's done. I don't have to do it again. But I say the hardest part, as you mentioned, is actually the maintaining of the systems and thinking
Right.
about how can I tweak my routine if it's not working for me. And it's not a one size fits all. I know people look at Instagram or Pinterest and they're like,
Yeah.
well, that's the way I should be organizing my paper, my time. But actually, it's very individualized. And I think if its system isn't working for you, you have to make that change. Otherwise, you're just going to continue down that same path and feeling disorganized and stressed, which is, the whole point of organization is to have that stress. There's only so much you can control in life. And so this is the thing you can control. You can't control the rest of the stuff. So if you
Yes.
can be organized with systems in some other way, I say, why not?
Right. So how do you know like what is the right system for you? How does that work?
I think it's a lot of trial and error. So I would say to someone, what is bothering you the most? Is it, in your life, getting out the door in the morning? I want to work out. I'm not feeling great about my body. So I would say to them, okay, well, where are your workout clothes? Are they by your keys? Are they by the back door? Are you, organizing your fridge so that you're not reaching for things that are sweets and that you have things cut up and you've taken time to meal prep and those are things right in front of your face. So I think it's talking about what is the thing that is bothering you the most, prioritizing that and coming up with a better system. And I tell people it takes at least 30 days to feel like, okay, that's a routine that I want. That feels comfortable. I know that's working because you're going to see results, but it's not going to be overnight. I say, you've lived in your house, for example, for 10 years. You're not going to just become organized like that and overnight and clear up the clutter and everything's going to be better. So give yourself some time, think about the priorities and start from there and be okay with changing the system once it's put into place.
Okay. Now you have been doing this long before the home edit got on TV, right?
Yes.
But
Yes.
how do you feel about I am assuming you've watched that show, have you?
I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how do you feel like what they do pretty closely resembles like what you do, or how do you feel about it?
So I think it's great that it has brought organization more to the forefront
Yeah.
because I would say when I first started, people had no idea what I did. And now that, HGTV, the Home Edit, all these other, Marie Kondo, all these other
Yes.
organizers are there, it's more into the mainstream, which I'm very thankful. But I don't want people to think about organization as rainbow bins, everything's in a plastic bin, and everyone's house looks like Chloe or Kourtney
Yeah.
Kardashian, and it's
Yeah.
like we have 15 things of all. So I want people to think realistically. I
Okay.
also think a lot of times what we see on TV, whether it is the home editor or someone else, it's just unrealistic, and people then feel bad about themselves of, oh, my space doesn't look like that, or I'm going to spend hours a day trying to make sure it looks like this. And I tell them, first of all, there's a difference between being neat and being organized, right? As an organizer, I tell people my house isn't always neat, but that's okay. I can get things back to being because it is organized. So I want people to think about it as not it is realistic for your own life, not looking at it as saying, okay, all of the books that I own need to be in rainbow order. If rainbow order works for you, great. If not, don't use that system. Organize them how you best are going to recall them or use them. So I think it's great that it brought it to the mainstream, but I think you really have to individualize it and don't use it as sort of this is the standard of organization. Think about it how organizing is going to touch your life. And I don't remember exactly on the show, but I want people to know that decluttering is the number one thing about organization. And I think a lot of society today is focused on products. You need this bin to feel organized. That, you walk through Target, you walk through the Container Store, and it's busy all the time. And they think this product's going to make me organized. This calendar is going to make me organized. But it's not about the products. I'm a big proponent of the process. And so if you don't declutter first, you don't take that time, even though that's the most unsexy part of the entire organization process, then it's going to come back to you and it's going to be in the same state it was before. Just this time you're going to have a pretty bin with a top on it. So I think the products are the after.
Yes.
It's the process first. Then think about a bin or a drawer insert or whatever it is that's going to aid in that system. And then you're going to layer on that pretty product. I'm all about pretty products. I'm all about products helping, but that's the last step that I get to with my clients.
Okay. Yeah. You touched on a couple really important things, I think. One is like the realisticness of what we're seeing on TV. I mean, I've sort of let go of this now, but for a long time in our fridge, I would not want all like the sauce bottles, Right. I'm like, get those bottles out of here. And they're like, Mom, where do we put them? I'm like, I don't know. Like I guess we need to be like Khloe Kardashian and have like the ugly fridge and the pretty fridge. But yeah, I'm like, the sauce bottles are not pretty.
Well, I mean, look, if decanting works for people for spices, for cereal, and that is, we decant a lot for clients, then do that. But if it isn't and it doesn't work for you, don't. If you feel like it's a waste of time or I personally think it's great because then you can, especially for cereals or things you eat all the time, you go through it and you can see,
you can see what's left. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. Then do it. But if not, don't do it. Don't go to the Container Store. Don't go to Target. Go to Westham. I mean, here's the thing. Every single big box store now has a section on organization, which is great, again. But I don't want people to feel the pressure of, I have to be perfect. I have to have everything lined up in rows, because that's really, really unrealistic.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. What was the other thing you said? I forgot it now. Maybe I'll remember it in a little bit. What do you think the benefits are? I mean, maybe they're obvious, but I'll ask you the question anyway. Like, what is the benefit of being really organized?
So I think there's a lot. I think first it helps with productivity. So if you're at work and you know where to reach for something, or that client file, or your emails, because we all get so many emails a day and there's a way to file them, it helps with productivity. It really helps with stress. I mean, it goes through mental health benefits are ginormous. And I could go onto those forever, but helping with anxiety or stress, or I'm looking for something, or I paid, $200 for these shoes and now I can't find them. But then you go out and buy another pair, and then 2 weeks later you find those in the back of the closet and you feel shame about having spent money or wasted money on something that doesn't necessarily fit, but is in your closet. Yes. So I think a lot of mental health benefits help with you. And as I mentioned, you can only control so much in life, which is great in one sense. And in another sense, if people feel out of control. So it helps you with feeling in control, especially in like your home, where most of us are only in a few hours a day, especially if we're working and out of, your bedroom, I feel like should be the most sanctuary.
Sanctuary.
Because you're only sleeping a few hours a night. So if it's cluttered and you're looking at clutter all the time and clothes on the floor, that's not very restful. And so I think it really helps with a lot of mental health benefits. Finally, I think it saves you a lot of money in the end, because again, talk about groceries. If you can't see what you have and then something is expired or goes bad, you've lost money, or you run to the grocery store and you don't know what's on your list because you're not organized about putting together your grocery list. You're just going to go spend more money than find, expired food 2 days later. So a lot of benefits. I think it just happens for each person individually, but collectively there's so many benefits.
Yeah. I remember the question that I forgot.
Okay.
The question was, you talked about decluttering and how that's like a really, that's probably the most important part of the process.
Yes.
Do you have like standards when you declutter, or not standards, but criteria? Like you must get rid of these things, something like that.
Yes. So I start with a basic rule. I say if you haven't worn it, for example, or used it within the year, because that gets us through all of this different seasons.
The seasons, yes.
Yes. So it's not a hard and fast rule, but that's where I start. And then, of course, are there individual things that you haven't used because, let's say, your mother passed them down to you and she's no longer alive? Or, you go skiing in the Alps and you didn't go this year, but you're going next year already and the trip is planned. Of course, there are outliers, but that's sort of a standard that I want people to start with. And then how does it make them feel? Like I'm a mom of twins. I don't fit into the same things that I did, 16 years ago when they were born. It's time to let them go, and or I'm going to save one out of the 5, maternity dresses or whatever it is for me. And I'm not going to have it front and center in my closet to remind me of what I used to look like, because then I'm going to feel bad about it. I'm going to put it away in a box and, label it keepsakes, but get it out of there. And I want a lot of people to not have basements and garages and storage units of stuff. We see that all the time. And they're moving from one house and they're paying movers to move to the next house with just stuff that they don't use, and it's mementos or whatever it is. So go through that stuff. You can take pictures of it. You can, we have a lot of people, their parents passed down china. 14, place settings of china. Never going to use it. They hate it. It's ugly, but it has sentimental value for them. So instead of keeping all 14, you can consign some maybe, or use one of the soup bowls to collect your keys, at the front of your door, or put something like one piece in a frame, and make it a beautiful thing that when you come in and you see that one piece, it reminds me of your grandmother. Because holding on to that, storing it, saving it, transferring it is a lot of effort and money and time and space in your current house with stuff that you don't actually use or need or love.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I actually love to declutter. But I like my husband, I actually have a joke with my husband though, because I'm like, if I stand still long enough, you'll declutter me, because he gets rid of everything. So I'm like, gosh, he's gonna throw me in the Goodwill bin too. But I think decluttering is so soothing and cathartic.
It's so cathartic. I agree with you. But people have a lot of emotional attachment to things.
Right.
I think a lot of people think if I throw away this, or I donate this, or I consign this, I'm losing the memory of whatever it is.
Yes.
And so that's very hard for people. And everyone has their own things. Some people it's papers, books, clothing, kids items. And so I'll tell them, take a picture of it, make a memory book that's this, big, little and small, that you can put on your coffee table of all of your kids' artwork for the entire year or 3 years, rather than 3 different huge bins that are taking up space in your, basement, because the memory isn't going to go away just because the physical item isn't with you.
Yes, absolutely. And the thing you said about people with all these storage, units, I have friends that are in the storage unit space, like they they own them, and they're like, this is the best business to be in, because we all have so much crap that we need extra spaces.
And they keep paying the store. I mean, I would be in the storage business too.
I know, it's brilliant.
Killing. And people just store and store and store and pay. And I will say to someone, okay, well, how much is it costing to store that couch that you think your child who's 10 right now is going to want in college? It's not going to happen. And then you're going to pay more to store it than you are to buy them a brand new couch that actually fits into their first apartment.
Right.
So think about it before you actually store it. Because people are wasting a lot of money on storage for things that they will never see or use again.
So in your work, and I'm very interested to ask you about your workshop that relates to divorce. But before we get to that, in your work, do you address the issue of like how we are all so emotionally attached to this stuff that is meaningless? Like, is that part of your work?
We do, because I think it's very emotional. A lot of people feel shame when they call us, because they're like, I should be able to do this, on my own. I see on Instagram or Pinterest, all these people are doing it and making my house doesn't look like that. I'm so stressed. I have all these kids, whatever it is, things are on the floor. And I tell them, don't feel that shame. We have all been in your position and or are in your position right now. And so I want them to let go of that. And our job is to help them feel better about their space, better about themselves. And to be able to do that, we have to declutter. And look, we have had people cry, yell at us, whatever it is, because it is very emotional. Things are emotional. And again, everyone's very different to what they're attached to. But I tell people, that's okay, and that's extremely normal. And if anyone tells you differently, tell them that's not right. Because people are attached to things.
Right. Yeah, it's very true. Okay, so you have a workshop coming up, and it's called Organizing Life Through and After Divorce.
Yeah.
So tell us, not only about just like the workshop, but what does that work look like?
Okay, so I'm remarried, but I have been divorced,
Okay.
and we work with a lot of people that are, separating and or have been divorced for a few years, and especially with children. But I will say it happens with people who don't have children too. There is a lot of stuff that has to be divided, physical stuff,
Right.
and there's a lot of emotions that go into going through a
Yes.
divorce. And so it's not just divvying up stuff. It's if kids are going back and forth, and it's scheduling, kids going back and forth. It's your financial records that have been commingled usually,
Yes.
and having to pull that apart. Starting your new life in a different space, or starting your life in the space that you had shared before. And so it's all this, culmination in, which is a very stressful time in people's lives. I say it's like up there next to death of the emotional process you go through with divorce. And so what this workshop is going to help is go through the different areas, financial, physical space, the planning, scheduling, all of that, your free time, which as a, parent who's now a single parent, that's very different than if you have your children, full time. And how do you organize all of those aspects, not just the physical aspect, but the emotional aspects of life? Because I've worked with so many people over the years and experiencing it myself. It's one of those things that I feel is a necessity.
Right.
And especially when you're going through divorce, you feel like you're alone a bit. I'll tell you, I felt alone,
Right.
because everyone else is going on with their lives, and you're like,
Yes.
this is just hitting me.
Right.
It's a lot. So I really want to give back to, all the single ladies out there, or people going through divorce or thinking about separating, because it's a very emotional time and a very stressful time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So-
and that's when you were talking about, how attached to things people are. I was actually thinking about, I think people are just very attached to things in general. But, particularly as a divorce lawyer, I run into it all the time where it's like, they are willing to pay 2 lawyers on each side, $500 an hour, $1,000 an hour combined to talk about the couch, from Ashley Furniture that probably costs them $1,500.
Correct.
But it's because of the emotional attachment. And, some things are sentimental. I was also thinking, when you measure your kids on the wall and mark it on the wall, like that's a huge thing. Dividing up the family photos. Christmas ornaments are huge.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. Who's having the bed? It's stupid.
Yes.
Like, right? If we've had a lot of people having like everything is, and I'm like, get rid of the bed.
Right.
It's okay. Go buy different sheets, and
Yes.
like you said, the things on the wall, the kids, it's all very, very emotional. And I want people to be able to start new, to start fresh, and you're decluttering emotionally at the same time
physically.
you're decluttering physically.
Absolutely.
And so again, if you're having to change spaces, or the space is changing around you because your partner, or husband, wife, whatever it is leaving after so many years, that's a lot.
Yes.
Or the house has to go on the market quickly. You have to declutter and take those family photos down of you guys, at the altar or whatever it is.
Yes.
So just trying to help and give back, because I know what it's like to be in that position, as a divorcee and mom.
Yes, absolutely. I love that you're doing that work. So we'll certainly put the details in the show notes, but just for, also tell us, when is the workshop?
It's going to be in October, October 7th. It's online virtually. So
great.
we're really excited about it. Anyone from any, place in the country can come join us.
Yes.
And it's only $79, which I think, again, like as you compared to a divorce lawyer, it'll be hopefully extremely beneficial and not very expensive. And there will be a group of women, like-minded women, obviously, who are there so that you can get the support and ask your questions.
Is it only for women, or
It
generally
is
more
not.
women?
As soon as I said that, I was like, oh, you know what? Because we actually help a lot of men, because they are used to having a wife.
A woman do it for them. Yes, that's what I was thinking. Yes.
Yes, we've organized many men who are going through a divorce, who will help both sides, because they're like, what do I do now?
Right.
My kids are coming. I don't know their schedules. I have to figure out a family calendar. We're organizing a family. The kids are going back and forth. What are the different things that they need? The lunch boxes, the food, the whole system, the dog, we've had dogs go back and forth.
Yes.
So,
joint custody of the dog. It's a thing.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Well, this has been great. Thank you so much for being on the show. And we will certainly let everyone that we know about the workshop. I think that's really important work that you're doing.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. I've got just a little bit more to say. How can you show up as the best version of yourself when your life is complete chaos from the windows to the walls? No, but seriously, I think if you want to start showing up as the best version of yourself, sometimes it's easiest to start with the things that are the most simple and easy. Now, granted, what Rachel said, which I wholeheartedly agree to, is we've all become very emotionally attached to our stuff. But I think that's something that we need to look at and sort of evaluate if that's how we want to be living and where we want to put our effort and energy. And when we decide that we don't necessarily need all that stuff, declutter, eliminate the chaos, because you were made for more.